All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We got 6 members present. Item 2 is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Susan, seconded by Marge, that we approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. 3.01, receive public comments. I have received a card from 3 individuals who wish to address the board. Tina Estabrooks, Dawn Estabrooks, and also Penny Schultz. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you all, is one person going to speak for all 3 of you, or do you each want to address the board? Okay, just one person. Well, first of all, I'm going to have you step up to the podium here first. And you do have a time limit of 5 minutes. And the other thing that's important, I looked at the subject of your thing. You cannot identify any faculty member or any students by name. You can talk about generalities, but please don't identify them by name. And no personal attacks. But other than that, the floor is yours for 5 minutes.
It has recently come to my attention as a fairly new parent to a middle school student, not my son in particular, but a certain set of children that seem to be suffering from bullying, and as a result, instead of the bullying being addressed, these children are being given detentions or suspensions. It just seems like something's broken when the kids that are being bullying are the only ones being punished, because the children who are doing the initial bullying are not having any punishments. So as a parent, that would concern me for lots of reasons. There's been a particularly heinous incident recently that is extremely disturbing to me and several other parents, and I just don't understand why certain children are not being treated consistently with the rules as they're laid out for all the children. So,
Without identifying names or anything, have you taken your concerns to the administration of the middle school?
yes.
You have. Okay.
Excuse me, I spoke with Tina Thursday, I believe, and then Cindy Gehring and I and other personnel have met and are addressing that now. So
Okay.
I'll be in touch probably tomorrow. So.
Do you have anything else you want to let us know at this time?
No. I suppose if I were to want to see the policy on sexual harassment between students at the middle school or any other school, where would I find that information?
It's online. I mean, what they have in their handbook would be on their website, and then on board.
Nothing in the handbook.
There's nothing specific in the handbook. It only addresses what punishment there would be for sexual harassment, but it doesn't define sexual harassment per se.
And then our board policy, and I can run that off, and I'll get it to you, Tina. We have a bullying policy specific.
I have that, but it doesn't have anything on the sexual harassment.
Oh, on sexual harassment. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'll get what we have.
All right.
Is that a separate issue, or is that part of the same issue?
Part of the same issue. I don't know, it seems like that should be something that should be defined, that should be available to review by parents.
And you said there was something about the punishment for it, but not the definition of it? Is that
Yeah,
what I'm trying to
there's a
Right
list.
here on the discipline plan, it has sexual harassment, 1 to 3 day suspension for the first offense. For the second offense is a 5-day suspension.
But it doesn't define
In the
what would be
handbook, it doesn't
considered.
have anything about sexual harassment at all.
So,
Is this event that you're talking about, did it happen Friday?
no, it happened,
Wednesday.
I thought it was Tuesday,
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay, in the last week then?
Yes.
Okay.
This is one of several incidents, but this is the one that would involve possible sexual harassment, depending on definition. So,
Well, thank you very much for coming to us. If you've already talked to Dean, it sounds like they've got plans in place, and as a board, we will follow up with the administration to make sure that this is being addressed properly. So thank you for coming in and sharing with us.
as I said before, this is not generalized about one child or one incident or one child and many incidents. This is several children that this similar injustice seems to be occurring with, so.
Is it specific to one grade level?
No. Junior high, as far as I know, just the junior high.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We had one other on the agenda. Is that person here? Ma'am, do you want to step up to the podium? And again, same rules for you. It's 5 minutes, and you cannot address any specific student or faculty member by name, but you can talk about whatever your issue is. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Even my own student?
We prefer we don't use the students' names, but
Okay. Well, my son is in second grade at Garfield, and I noticed that this year there was a change to the grade cards. And I was just wanted to request that we go back toward more of what the old grade cards look like. And the reason being, I don't mind handing you out my son's grade cards if you want to see the differences between last year and this year. Would you like to see that?
I'll do that, I mean, with the board and meet with the principals on that issue. I mean, I know you have some legitimate concerns and.
Well, in a nutshell, kind of
Yeah,
what the issue is this year for second grade, there is nothing on the grade card except for A's and B's. There are no comments unless the teacher handwrites comments. There's no, for example, on last year's first grade card, and I know every grade level was different, but there's some mentions of what kind of their standards are, what they're supposed to be learning in first grade. So as a parent, you can go back and see, oh yeah, they're having issues with, learning the main idea, or, for first grade, it was writing the numbers to 100. And there were plus and minuses, and you could see what they were struggling with and what they were doing well. But this year, there's only A's and B's. There's no, I don't know what you call this. Is it standard-based grading, maybe?
Yes.
Something like that. And there's not anything like that on there. And as a mother of a second grader, I don't know what the state standards are. I don't really know exactly what he's supposed to be learning in second grade, third grade, and I don't think any of the elementary ages have that anymore. Do they?
Kindergarten first.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, so I don't know how many other parents did this for our teacher, but I mean, I took up probably almost 2 hours of time with his teacher, just, that's just one of her students, because I wanted to know what he was having trouble with and what he was doing well at, and I just would really appreciate it if we could go back to giving a little more detail on the elementary age grade cards.
okay. Well, thank you very much for bringing this to us. And I have a second grader at Garfield also, and so I noticed the switch to that grade card as well.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
we'll discuss it as a board with the administration, and I assume that, I don't know if would you get an answer back to her, or how's that going to work?
Yes, we'll actually probably do this Saturday we're having a board retreat, and the principals are there, and that'll be one of the topics that they discuss.
Okay, and then I'm just going to pass this out, just because people who aren't, years away from elementary, they can just see what the difference is.
If you don't mind, but I can get a generic one too, that's.
Oh, well,
It's up
it
to you.
doesn't matter to me, but there's 2 pages for, there's 2 pages for first grade. Do you want
So we've switched to a letter grade system. for
Right.
second grade.
I think the letter grade's been a few years for the core classes, but there's always been comments with the.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I just wanted to say something good that I hadn't really mentioned to anyone yet, but I really appreciate the bus service the last couple of years since the district bought the buses. My son rides the bus, and it has just been like night and day. There hasn't been issues. I mean, there were issues at the very beginning, and is it Tom?
Tom Parks.
Tom
Parks.
was just awesome. I mean, he was right on it. He took care of it, and it's just been pleasant. And we love our bus driver. It's Mark McCall, and so just something good to report.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Okay, do we have anyone else sign up? That's the only ones I had. Okay, thank you. We'll move on then to 4.01, which is board reports. I think, I see one from Daryl here.
Yes.
All right.
Tuesday, 1/17, Ottawa High School Site Council. Basically, we discussed the review of the committee meeting that was held previously. Some of the things that were discussed that I'm sure you're well aware of. There was a feeling that technology dropped off from OMS to OHS. The counselors admitted that many times state testing takes up the laboratory, computer labs, but computers were being used quite frequently in English, science, newspaper. They also discussed better way to get more participation at parent-teacher conferences. They thought that, you know, with the grades online for parents, that might have, you know, kept people away from coming because they could find out online basically what their grades were and where the problems were. They also discussed the league update, future discussion that was coming up. The ADs, currently there are 4 schools, Basel, Linwood, Bonner, Piper, and Tonganoxie, that would like admission into our league. They discussed some of the advantages and disadvantages, you know, as far as what they had to offer academically. I think it was quite obvious that coming into the league, you know, it had, you know, athletic activity overtones, but they wanted to know what the benefits of adding schools to our league would be. And I think Mr. Graff was going to look at, you know, the possibility of adding 1 school, inviting 1 school as opposed to all 4, adding 4, creating a scheduling nightmare. Some of them were talking about, you know, travel expenses, many of the schools that we already play, and possibility of, you know, there not being a league championship and, you know, 2 divisions and things like that. So that was about the.
Is there 7 now? 7 teams?
I think there are.
Rick, do you know, I'm sorry, but, because the ADs met today on that same subject here, the current league. Where are we headed, and what's kind of the timeline, or?
Timeline, our next league meeting for the principals is February the 9th, and that's the agenda item, is to discuss the presentations that those schools made and what action, you know, we're going to do as far as if we're going to take any or one or all.
And then that'll go back to the schools for the board to approve, or?
Well, we want to, yeah, we take that back to the boards. We want to, I think I put it in the December board
Memo.
report, with that. Looking at that, getting back to, you know, what we do there and what we do, to get that back to the boards and make it
What,
their decision.
what do you think they're leaning to? And it seemed like they came away today with kind of maybe not adding any, but,
Yeah, ADs were, they have to stick about even numbers for scheduling. And so they're kind of on the, keeping it at 7, or just adding 1 to 8. Principals, we just discussions, it could be anything from all four to nine.
Is there an academic component of the league? Like, when I was in a league in high school, we had a league band
League
competition.
Yeah,
Scholars
it would-
Bowl.
it would-
Yeah,
That's
scholars-
all, that's all in place, yeah.
That is all in place? Okay. I didn't know if it was purely athletics or if it also
No.
included
And
academics.
Forensics, debate,
Okay,
student council, art, anything that there's,
okay.
league activities.
Rick, did I leave anything out significantly? That-
No. And just to remind the board, if any additions to the league were made, those would not take effect until the fall of 2014. Football, the junior football season. The new one starts next year, so they'll do that.
Is that all you had, Daryl? Anybody else?
I have two, actually.
Okay.
On January 11th, the ORC met, and basically it was reported that each week has more attendance on use than the week before. They're just growing and growing. With the growing, there's a little bit of problems. In basically, the walker etiquette is not,
It's not fully followed, is it?
it's not quite the way it needs to be. And they discussed that at length about what to do. They cannot add personnel to watch that because that is not cost prohibitive there. I had a suggestion of if all of those board members would go to a recess, one recess duty, they would see that it wasn't near the problem that they think it is.
They perceive.
So they didn't think that I knew what I was talking about. They are going to post, they have posted signs, but they're going to post an etiquette manual or something, but so people will know what's expected, but somebody's going to have to be the hard person and say, either do this or you can't do this. You know, I think that's where they're going to have to be. Some of the parents are coming and walking, and then their kids are just going everywhere. And so they're working through some new growth stuff. That's basically all of that. I went to Workman's Comp meeting over the weekend in Topeka. They're working on the new rates. We discussed them. It will go up. How much depends. There's been a new law that we kind of had the advantage, the Workman's Comp KSP had an advantage until now over other companies, but now we won't have that advantage. So we're going to have to be very careful about if we raise this much, what it's going to do to our membership. One of the things that we do have that the regular insurance companies do not have is if a school district wants to have our insurance, we have to give that to them, or we have to have them as clients. And other insurance companies they can decline, but we cannot. So we're kind of in a little different situation. One of the things that would help, and I know people here are working on this, getting our mod factor down. We're in the top mod factor. If we could get that down, it's a 3-year average, but so we can't get any help for another year or so. But if we could get that down in even the middle range, it would be good. We were in the low range when I started on this board, and now we're at the high range, which makes more expense for all of us. There is something on the horizon. I'm not sure when this will come, but they've been working on it, but this is the first time I've heard about it as a member of that group. They are working on, they have the Workman's Comp, they have a gas thing where you can buy your gas cheaper through the KSB, and I forgot what they call that thing.
K-Jump.
And then the other thing is that they're looking at health insurance. And I was really interested in that, maybe not for next year. I don't know if it'll be in place where we could look at the rates and things for next year, but it would be through KSB, just like the Workman's Comp is. And it'll be run by 2 companies. I'm not quite sure how all that works because we just got a little bit of the information. We didn't get any written information. We set in on their meeting and we can listen a while, but that's about all. But to me, it was exciting that they were stepping out. They do have property. They took 8-10 years to get that in, but they do have property. They have 8 districts that does their property insurance through them. So it's something to look forward to and to see if another choice. So that's it.
Marge, you were at the ORC meeting. I heard that something, it doesn't really have anything to do with the school since it's after prom, that somebody had requested to have like the after prom party there.
And they are not going to allow that because of the initial, what they told the patrons that live around the area, that they would close at X hour. And so if they had an after prom party, it would be in violation of that, what they had done. So no, they're not going to allow prom, the after prom party there because of that reason, the timing part.
In other words, they'd have kids running in and out of there after the hours. They said they'd be closed.
Yes.
It wouldn't be running in and out.
No,
it'd
it'd
be
There
out.
would be activity in the building with the lights on and et cetera, and that's,
Yeah.
and so they stuck with their original proposal of closing at X hour.
And then, I'm trying to think, Teresa, do we have one ORC person up for to sign in
Just
April,
one?
May, whenever, May, so we'll get that information and send out that we'll have one opening there on their board.
Do we need to publish that in the paper? Is that what we've done before?
Yeah.
You know, the workman's comp laws changed in May,
Mhm.
where people have been educated on their protective equipment and all that, and they still go against what you've got for them, but we aren't as liable, and can help our experience mod go down. I don't know if we have all that or not in place. But there was finally some pro-employer type work comp law changes in May that are kind of concurrent with the education that you give employees, or assistive devices, where if they don't use them, then we do have some leg to stand on. Like in our business for that, it would be gait belts to help move people, or we have patient lifts and people just choose not to use them. But they've all been trained and used and the expectation is there, and so if that occurs, then we do have some leg to stand on. So those laws finally changed in May, so I don't know if there's policy changes that come along with that, or if you've noticed anything like that, and maybe some education and stuff in some areas would be good if you've noticed high trends.
As far as trends, I really think we've seen a lot. Our departments in custodial maintenance and grounds are already doing in-services and professional development in terms of like, belts if they're lifting, those types of things. They do pick a topic every month and do some training.
And because we're in the top level, the KSB does offer the training. Well, you have to take the training. I mean, it isn't like we're stepping up. It's mandatory that we do it.
All that can help us now, finally. Yay.
Unfortunately, it'll take a while to get past the 3-year average. I mean, even if we improve drastically, we'd still have to get 2 more years to get that average down.
Kind of like getting a speeding ticket on your record.
Kind of like.
Takes a while to get it off.
Sounds like you're talking from experience.
No, I'm just,
Just in time for your next kid to get one. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any board reports? All right, if not, we'll move on to 4.02, the superintendent report.
Teresa did get all of the notes typed up from our community conversations meeting. I haven't had time to go through there yet. We kind of met, and I made some other notes on what different groups met. I think there was a principal in each group, and then Anessa Nations was in the other group. If there was a question, I've asked them. But I need to go through and double check that, and then I'll send this out to all the participants, and we'll use this on Saturday as well. So I'll have it all done by that time. But some good input here, and I thought it was a good meeting, and we will be doing that again. School finance, I just last time talked a little bit about the audit and how close we were to what we had published to where we actually have come in, and just the concern with drop in FTE, just total FTE by enrollment head count. And then obviously the big concern is the new proposals on school finance. I mean, there's several different things out there now, and we just need to kind of wait and see what direction they take. I am real concerned about losing the weightings on different things. ESL, we don't get a lot of money for ESL, but if we lose that, then, I mean, I don't understand how they expect you to keep those programs. I know there's been a lot of talk about kindergarten, when they say funding it, but then they cut that funding for districts like us. So there's a lot going on, a lot of good questions, and different organizations putting together things, and it sounds like our legislators are aware of all of those things and not just rubber stamping anything, and going to take the time and effort to do it right. At the community conversations I did have this, and I may have mentioned it at the last meeting, but I'll do it again real quick here, that revenues and expenditures from 2007-08 school year to this year, 11-12, the budget has decreased $2,055,000, and the total reductions that we've made in budget are $2,100,000, and that equates to not quite 46 staff members at all different levels. 17.4 classified, 23.4 licensed, and 5 administrative positions. So again, I think when the legislators or anyone uses the word, they'll hold us harmless this year, I think we need to use those figures to say that there's been a lot of harm done already with $2 million, over $2 million in cuts. So just to be mindful of that. Saturday, we do have our board retreat set, and I sent out the agenda. It's on board docs. I will send that again to everyone. We'll have the principals there. Cindy Gehring will be there, and we'll have each principal do their report and have a question and answer session. We'll look a little bit at school calendar and look. We've had this the last several years with the PLC time, those things, and then look at the data from community conversations. And I know this sounds like a lot, and we probably won't get through all of it. I think what we do is very, very important, but then look at our goals, the student achievement chart and SMART goals, and have those discussions. So that ought to be a good meeting, and we'll start at 8 o'clock, and we'll probably meet in a conference room over there. And then Marcia will have a little more of a brunch than straight breakfast, so there'll be something to eat as we meet. So, but we'll start at 8 and end at 12. So you can plan the afternoon accordingly. Stormwater fees from the city. I went to a meeting the other day. Andy Haney and Wendy and that department talking about a new program that they haven't implemented yet, but they're in the discussion phases and doing a lot of research on this. And this is the stormwater fees from the city. Susan and Brandon heard a little bit about this at the joint luncheon that we had the other day. And everyone in the city would have to pay a fee, whether it's residential or commercial. The commercial for like USD 290 and educational institutes, Neosho County and Ottawa University, well, it's based on square footage of parking areas and rooftops, basically. So they are working on USD 290's square footage to get an exact figure for that, and then come up with what that they would charge for our stormwater fee. And I mean, everyone would do this. American Eagle, Walmart, not DC, but Walmart, everyone would do this based on their square footage. But they're gonna get me that, what it would cost us on different things, and county, or the city commissioners haven't approved it yet, but then we would be eligible, along with the other two educational entities, to get up to a 15% discount on that fee if we do some educational things, which we're already doing some of that, but put in some programs in the elementary level probably, and continue through the grades about stormwater and water waste management, those types of things, and then projects that are built. And we've already done this at Lincoln. Garfield has a retention pond. Right here on this block we have one, middle school. We've done a lot, so we should get a discount for those things, but I don't know what that's gonna cost. My guess, and this is all it is a guess, that it would be somewhere around $2,000. Could be higher, could be lower, but I think I told Terry we need to budget, or start in our budget for next year. That was one of the things that all three entities said, we can't start this budget year, we didn't plan on it, about 2,000 or 2,500 to be safe each month.
A year or a month?
A month. So, and they have a whole list, and I think I put some on the webpage here, but I have a whole list of projects and things that need to happen, and eventually every city's gonna have to do this, and there's some information on which ones currently do it. Lawrence does it, and all their schools, everybody pays a fee, and I think I included
What
what
is
those.
this fee designed to do?
What's that?
What is this fee?
Capital improvements on the stormwater systems.
Yeah, they said at the meeting it had to go right back to stormwater management.
Yeah, all the fees that are paid would go into those projects that they have identified to prevent runoff, and they gave some examples.
So now our city is in the process of installing fees to legislate how we teach school.
Well,
It's EPA, isn't it? It's requiring the city to do it.
But as far as doing a day or a lesson on wastewater management, which we do a lot of that
In science classes anyways.
Well, I understand that piece of it. The thing that irks me is that we're now being told by either the state or a federal entity how what things we have to teach on a certain issue, or they're gonna charge us a fee for it.
They're not telling us to
Been
do
doing
it.
that for a long time.
They're not telling us to do it.
No, but I mean, this is yet another instance of that. And I mean, they're gonna charge us the fee regardless. And the only way we get out from under part of it is if we add this piece to it, as I understand. Is that correct?
Yes, it's another unfunded
right
mandate.
now. Again, there's nothing approved, but that was one piece of it to help offset costs if we would do. That's part of the federal program, is education on those things.
I mean, I'm not opposed to the educational thing. I'm opposed to being told you have to do it this way or else.
That's because they're here from the government, they're here to help.
They're here to help take money out of your pocket.
As we get close to this, I'll probably have the city come and do a presentation when they have everything figured out, and do a lot better job than I did of explaining it.
Who was it that kept offering that presentation to the commissioners, and they didn't want that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last time I talked about the high school working with the county and looking into several services for a drug dog to come through the schools, and I know they worked out a deal with Franklin County on having their dogs come through on a periodic basis, I'm sure unannounced, but we're going to start that. So
Walkers and cars, or just cars, or just
I
walkers?
assume they'll do.
We'll do both. I mean, I'm sure the dogs.
As long as they last, and they may.
At one time, it'll probably be a certain section of the parking lot, the next time might be a certain section of walkers, because as you know, they don't.
And if they alert, then those things can be searched.
Mhm.
Just bring in 10 dogs and do it all at once.
If they had 10.
Blitz the place.
Yeah.
Yep.
We met, the high school, middle school principals and I think Brian, met with Ethel Wallace on the Franklin County, or the JDC, Juvenile Detention Center, and the building they're making, and then starting a day school. She emailed me some information again today. that Lawrence has a day school set up that way, and I'll set up a tour so we can go up and kind of see how they do that. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, but I think all of us were pretty excited about some of the possibilities with that day school, what we could do, and I think it's going to make a big difference. So we're in the first stages of that. As far as equipment, I think we have most everything. We might need to buy a couple more computers, and I'd ask Angie about a smart board. I think, do we have a smart board that we're not using? And I think we have a lot of these things already in place, and in furniture type things, but we will work through that. And then I know for the day school, Ethel did not want to include anyone but USD 290 kids the first year to get that started. And then after that, I know that would open up, and I don't know what their limit is. They have a limit of how many beds.
Seats do they have? How many seats are they gonna have in their day school?
Oh, gosh, I didn't bring my notes. They have, I want to say, how many beds did they have? Because it depends on how many residential.
They had 7.
There's 14
7.
cells.
So that'd be 14, and then
Right.
I thought
And then they could double up if needed, so it was a max of 28.
So I think somewhere in that, it just depends how many
And so then
residentials they have, so.
The
What?
juveniles who are being detained will be in the same school then with the people who are being brought in for just the day school? Is that
They
the-
could separate them a little bit, but yeah, basically. Now, she was talking about Lawrence and some of these others, and again, these are all just the beginning conversations, that if a student's assigned to day school and they misbehave, I mean, they change into the, whatever they wear at JDC, and if they misbehave, then they can keep them that night, and they spend the night there and go to school the next day.
We used
Talk
to-
about
So-
detention.
Well, that's what we were
That's the
saying. I
ultimate
think
stay
that's
after
gonna be a
school.
huge deterrent, rather than.
I used to put kids in the Lawrence, when I prosecuted juvenile cases in Lawrence, and we put kids out there, but usually to keep them very much longer, you have to have a detention hearing on them, but
Yeah,
But
so,
yeah.
I don't know how all that works, Brendan, yet, but that was one thing that Ethel had talked to us about, so I thought
I
it
mean,
was.
it's like going to school in a prison setting almost. I mean,
Yeah.
it's for kids with major discipline problems, but some of them, we'd release them from detention, but we'd make them go to the day school. They weren't, because they weren't
Exactly.
disrupting the schools.
Yeah.
So,
So would this be similar to what Angie does now, only?
It'd be exactly what she does now, but then there would be students that would come in.
But for now, it's just for kids who are in detention. You
Residential,
can actually
yeah.
have people who are going home at night, but are coming there for school instead of going to the school here.
And
It's
it
almost
would-
like in-school detention, but it's.
And
in-
it could be for kids as young as 10. Isn't
10,
that-
yeah, 10.
So
Have to be 10 and be in there.
That'd be an eye-opener.
An armed guard standing there.
Adult ed,
Goes with para.
I meet next Monday with the current consortium again, and we'll go over some of those things. I don't have any new information from our current consortium. I hope to get something here on the 30th, but sometime in the near future then, after this meeting on the 30th, maybe the next board meeting, we need to talk about adult ed again, and I'm listening to Neosho County. I like what they had to offer there, but I'll see what I get at this next meeting and have that on the agenda. I believe that was it for my report.
All right. Move on to 5, policies, contracts, bids, et cetera. 5.01, approve the district technology plan.
There was, I don't know if you got the changes. Dennis had emailed me, he was in Georgia, and, on the front page, the district website didn't show up the first time. It's on the actual site, but when you print it, it doesn't come off, so I think Kim put it on there manually, and then on.
It shows up on the website, it just doesn't print
Right.
out.
And then on page 5, I believe the last paragraph on Can Ed was added. And those were the only changes we made since I sent it out the first time, so. And Kim, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I was just gonna highlight a few things that were in the tech plan. When we go through the, well, thanks. When we get to the district summary, a few highlights that we've added this past year, and since the last tech plan, of course, with the clickers like we saw at the last board meeting, several classrooms have those. Elmo's document cameras in the classrooms. Any teacher that has requested that kind of equipment, we've purchased that for them. We've also added 2 wireless laptop carts to the high school this past summer for Reading Horizons and Avid to complement the 3 wireless carts that they currently have and the 5 wired labs that they have. We have also added 2 wireless carts to the middle school this school year, again for Avid and for the science department to complement their 5 wired labs. This was them having wireless carts in their building has been a little bit of a challenge since they don't have wireless in the building. We've put wireless routers on the carts. So as you noticed in the tech plan, that is something that we did put that's something we need to look towards as a district, is wireless in our buildings, because as we have wireless carts and notepads and Thrives being used, and I know special ed has been looking at iPads, without having that wireless throughout our buildings, it makes it difficult for them to be able to use those in the classrooms, but we have been testing with iPads in the special ed department. The survey that was in the tech plan was done in 2010. They always request that we do surveys for staff, community, and students. A couple things that came out of that is that the comments that were put in there was that they think we have adequate computers, but sometimes we don't have, during testing time especially, we don't have the space for them because we're hogging up the labs for testing, which is a requirement during those 3 months, but we're always short on computers at that time. Also, one of the things that came out from the staff was training, and in the last 2 years, 3 years, we've had Sharon Beams, and we've done a lot of peer training. Sharon Beams, Susan Yates did a lot of smartboard training, and for staff that was interested after school, and they did a lot of that. We also created, when I first came on, we did a staff training folder, and I'm putting it up here. This is on all the building shareds. So anything that we have, whether it's ASOP, Compass, GoEduStar, there's learning documents inside of those training documents. Or we have also done actual training videos so that people can go in, the staff can go in, and they can train at their own leisure and be able to look at those. So we've tried to, with limited training time and limited in-service time, especially with all the changes we've had to sort of model something different for them to access on their own. So this is available to all staff and has been for the last 2 years. So also one of the things that was in the tech plan was a new program that we purchased was the IT Direct for our help desk orders. IT Direct, basically, a staff member will put in an issue for any computer or any technology issue they may have, and it goes to the tech aide in their building. Right now, we're fortunate enough to have a tech aide in every building. So they get the ticket. If they're able to help that person, they go and help that person. If they're not able to, then it goes back into a queue where the tech department gets it, and then we go out and go help them and help the tech aide and sort of help the tech aide learn how to do something new if it's something that they can do. The good thing about IT Direct is we can pull up reports by building. We can find out how many completed orders we have, how many of them are work in progress, and along with that, we have a global knowledge base that our tech department and tech aides can all go back. If there's an issue that keeps reoccurring, they can look in this global knowledge base and be able to see what was done, how it was done, and they can have a faster return time on fixing a problem. So this has been helpful of keeping track of making sure, what equipment is really causing us a lot of problems, where we need to focus our attention, on equipment or on training for our own tech staff. Let's see. Also, later on in the tech plan, you noticed there was the curriculum that was listed there. That is what is currently there. I know the tech teachers have came to CAC and are looking at the tech curriculum and looking at updating that, because as we know, it's ever changing, and it has been. And a couple of things that were on the curriculum, if you notice, there was like a I, R, and M following the skills. It's I for introduce, R for reinforce, and M is in mastered. So that's the requirements that we have currently, but they're updating that that curriculum. But anyway, that's a short and sweet summary of what's going on. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions for Kim? If not,
Yeah,
I think,
we
yeah,
need
we
a
need to approve the district technology plan.
So moved?
Second?
It's been moved by Susan, seconded by Darrell, that we approve the district technology plan. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. 5.02, authorize Piper Jaffray and Company to proceed with the refinance. And Terry, do you have a presentation for us on this? Or?
I think you all should have a little packet of information here with a nice little chart on the front. Greg Varnberger with Piper Jaffray contacted us about a week ago just to let us know that interest rates had fallen and the environment's favorable for refunding of our 2005 bond series. All of those are callable in 2014. So you can see from the front the decline in the bond rate over the last 25 years. So we are definitely at a low, and hopefully in 2 or 3 weeks we'll still be down that far. If you turn that over on the back side, there's a little chart here. We have two options. We can do a partial refunding, and that is, they call it bank qualified because it's less than 10 million. And we could also do a full refunding, and that's unqualified because it's over the 10 million. You can see the next line shows the total savings for the refinancing. Most of the savings is realized on the partial refunding. The difference there is about $153,000. The next line down shows a present value savings percentage, and that really is the benchmark to determine whether a bond is able to be, or if it's prudent to go ahead and refund the series. So you can see on that partial refunding that it's 8.08%, and on the full funding it would be 3.83. So I think that's really what we wanted to look at and see if the board was interested in pursuing this. We will have that decision to make whether we want to go with the partial refunding or with the full refunding. Now, when Greg comes back in 2 or 3 weeks, interest rates could have changed. These numbers can change. We might see that the full refunding, we might see just as great a present value savings as we're on the partial refunding now. So,
why is, if you don't mind me asking, why is the partial refunding a greater savings at this point instead of full refunding? Are we just taking out the high interest rate part only? Or
honestly, I think it's because it's a smaller issue, that it's bank qualified, and Greg will be able to explain that a lot better. But you can see the average interest rates, that last line there, the average interest rates on the new refunding bonds for the bank qualified would be 2.18%, where the full refunding it would be 2.49%.
in other words, because we're doing a lesser amount, we're getting a better interest rate?
What we would like you to do is just make a motion to give us permission to pursue this, and then Greg will have information. He'll come to the board meeting, the first one in February, present this, and have a resolution, or we'll have the resolution for you to pass And that way, after we do that, the interest rates would be locked in. But I just would like your permission, but I mean, if you make a motion and approve Terry and I to pursue this, and then we'll have Greg come to the next meeting.
I will move that we provide you with the tools, or with the permission necessary to pursue this further.
Second.
It's been moved by David, seconded by Susan, that we grant Dean and Terry permission to pursue refinancing our bonds. Any further discussion?
It'd be silly not to save money.
Yeah. That's like, duh.
Oh, let's keep it like it is and spend more.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0.
Will there be an education mandate with it? We'll have to learn about bond refunding?
Well, we already have to do finance classes.
Yes, but this is specific to bonds.
All right, next thing on the agenda is 6, executive session for negotiations.
How long? 15 minutes, probably long enough for
Can you do
today.
it in one breath, Brian?
Are you the mover this time since Dennis is?
Oh, I'm not gonna do it in one breath. There's no
Oh,
way.
come on.
Mr. President, I move that the board go into executive session for the purpose of discussing matters relating to employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representatives or representatives of the body, and that the board return to open meeting at
Let's take a 5-minute
8.
break.
10 o'clock in this room. The executive session is required to protect the district's right to confidentiality of its negotiating position and the public interest.
Second.
And you want to invite?
And we're
Dean
inviting
and Brian.
Brian Kraus and Dean Cat.
Okay. It's been moved by Brian, seconded by David, that we go into executive session for negotiations with Dean Cat and Brian Kraus. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. It's been moved by Brian, seconded by David, that we return to open session. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Move to 7, executive session for personnel.
Mr. President, I move the board go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personal matters for non-elected personnel, and the board return to open meeting at 8:30 o'clock in this room. Executive session is required to protect the privacy interests of an identifiable individual.
And that Dean Cat be invited for the second half of that executive session.
And that Dean Cat be invited in at some point in that meeting.
Yeah, when you come back and get me.
Yeah. Second.
Been moved by Brian, seconded by David, that we go into executive session until 8:30 o'clock for the purpose of discussing personnel, and that Dean Cat be invited in for part of that time. And if all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Motion carries 6-0. 8.01, approved personnel list for January 23rd.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Brian, seconded by David, that we approve the personnel list for January. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
I'm getting good.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 6-0. 8.02, and I believe this is going to be modified to approve contract extension for the superintendent and assistant superintendent, but to table sped director, and also I think we're going to table 8.03 principals. Correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. President, I move to approve the contract extension for the superintendent and assistant superintendent.
Second.
It's been moved by Brian, seconded by Susan, that we approve a 1-year contract extension for the superintendent and assistant superintendent. Is there any discussion? Not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-1. Announcements, 9.01.
I was sorry to see that Mr.
Do we need a motion to table the other ones, or can I just say it's tabled?
Me,
I think you can just.
yeah.
Say that it's tabled?
Say it's
Okay.
tabled, Yeah.
Yeah.
I was sorry to see Mr.
We're on
Dirks is
announcements, Dean.
leaving.
Mr. Who?
Mr. Dirks at the high school. I was sorry to see he's leaving.
Where's he going?
I don't know.
Scott City.
Really?
That's where he's from. His wife
Have a
is from there too. She's got,
former student
gonna
that is going to
work
apply
at the
for it.
hospital there.
He's been
Good
out
for
of
them, so they're going home.
Yep.
Good.
unemployed because of the,
Oh, that's good.
called her and
Go
told
home to
her
family.
she's fine.
Hate to see
He
him
got
go.
all the IEP kids, his first year out of school. He
Ready
got
for
Yeah, announcements, yep.
Tuesday, tomorrow, CAC meeting in this office starts at 4 o'clock. Usually it's 4:15 before we get everybody there. Board retreat is Saturday, 8 to noon. And February 8th is the PDC meeting at the middle school, 4:15. And our next board meeting is February 13th.
Daryl Bork will be presiding. I will be gone.
All right.
Because he wants to stay married.
Mr. President, I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Moved by Brian, seconded by David. We adjourn. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0, I believe.